Roy, I guess the impetus for some of this is I spoke with Oscar Sanchez, who was your former chief of staff, and it was at the end of a week and a half ago. It was at the end of a string of 3 days. Dave Kuziak came on here, and he was very unflattering of your time in East Chicago as a corporate counsel. And then the next day, John Buncich, the sheriff now, came on, and he had comments about how the jail was left, and hey, can you clean it, or can you fix a toilet already, or something like that, I think was one of the lines. And then Mayor Thomas McDermott Jr. came on the next day, and he had things to say that, I hope that he runs for commissioner because I want to support John Buncich, and he had kind of unflattering comments. So you had 3 days in a row, and I'm like, I don't care. I mean, this is the Speed Reach Network, but right. Roy Dominguez was the sheriff for 8 years. He's got to come on, and we got to talk to Roy to see what's going on. Roy, are you surprised that such vitriol is being spewed in your direction?
I don't worry about what people say about me in terms of Kuziak or the rest of them. I guess Kuziak said that all the time, and I don't know what he would know about me being the corporation counsel in East Chicago, or the other things. And in terms of politics, a lot of things are said about politics. I used to come on regularly, and as you know, people would say things and would say, well, he called you this, and what would you call him? I never got into that. I've always worried about being a positive person, being a good person. I do that. And what other things that people think that they can do to maybe promote themselves by trying to degrade or denigrate somebody has never been my style. I don't have any bad words for them. I wish them well, for them and their family, and what they hope to endeavor. I know that as a public official, that our citizens want us to be forward-thinking. What is it that you can do to help the economy? What is it you can do to help me and my family have a better life, lower taxes, more jobs, economic development, improve the quality of life here in Lake County? And so if you cloud yourself with either anger or revenge, then you can't think about what you can do to help others. And so fighting is such an easy emotion, Jed. And do I resist that? Of course I do. I resist it in thinking forward and how I can help somebody else. And foremost, how can I help my family? My grandmother used to tell me, and she'd tell me all the time, and she'd tell me and the rest of us, she would say, take care of yourself so you can take care of your family. And so that stays with me. And so I think not only physically, but mentally. So I don't get into any of that stuff. And I'd come on here before and used to say those things before, and I didn't worry about that. And I know that while being sheriff, we did the very best we can with what we had to work with. I've not criticized the current sheriff. I get calls all the time to do that. I don't, because that's for others to do. I've already did my term as sheriff and wish him well, and for what whoever else might decide to do things or look at that issue, that's for them and those issues. While I was there, I did my very best, the best I could, with what I had to work with, and we did that. And so, and the same thing with the mayor. I mean, I know that he had called me names before and things of that nature, and I didn't take the invite to get into a political slugfest. It serves no purpose. And in life, as you go through, life is very short and very precious. And so I'd rather think that when it's time for me to go, Lord willing, it may be a long time from now, that I took care of my family and that they're well, and that I helped others as they went along.
We're talking to Roy Dominguez. You don't want to get in a political slugfest with pretty much anybody. I know that that's not your style. Does this kind of rhetoric, what do you think that does for the Democratic Party here in Lake County?
Well, I've had a lot more free time, and I get out and I get about, and I still learn and still listen. And I'm very enthused by those who would say to me, hey, Sheriff, what are you going to run for next? You did a great job. And so that means a lot to me. It really does. The citizens' opinion are very, very critical and very important. And so I'm very honored by that. I was honored to be the sheriff for 8 years. And in terms of political leaders and the infighting that we seem to have here in Lake County amongst the Democrats, I guess Republicans have it too as well. It's not unique to anybody. It's a human factor. It serves no purpose. And I believe our citizens have a right to demand that we stay focused on the issues facing them. Trying to fight each other for ego purposes or to try to get one up on the other or try to harpoon others. I've seen it so much in politics.
There's been a lot of talk, Roy, about you running for commissioner of Lake County in the 2nd District right now. That is held by Jerry Shube. What's the update on that?
As I mentioned earlier, as I go around, a lot of people have asked me, what am I going to do next? And have encouraged me to run. Many have come up to me and asked me to consider taking a look at that. And so I have. And so, in fact, I had a phone call from one of the local medias, and I told him, I said, well, I'll be taking a look at that, and probably after Labor Day have some announcement as to what I would do or not do.
One of the issues that has been big with Mr. Shube has been pushing the garbage to ethanol plant in South Lake County. Where do you stand on that one?
Well, I was very vocal and adamant. I went to the meetings, and there was a lot of it. And I think we discussed it here as well. I have been against and still against that the taxpayers are co-owners of this facility. Therefore, if anything were to happen, the taxpayers are co-liable. And if the owners, the co-owners were to let's say, file bankruptcy or don't have enough solvency, it would be the taxpayers who then would be liable for any lawsuits or liability stemming from that. You know, the taxpayers are not co-owners of, let's say, the initiative at BP Amoco or US Steel or any others. So that if you have private investors who want to build this facility, let them build it. I think we as government should encourage that and provide infrastructure support, but not co-ownership. And so that, as I understand, has been changed, but I've not seen the contract on that. And so in terms of the facility, if they have private investors and they're able to raise the funds and they apply for the permits and all the different regulatory agencies approve it, build it by all means, and build it with union workers. I guess there's a large concern about it being built close to the Kankakee River. You know, the project has been on the books now for about 3 or 4 years, and there's been a lot of investment by the Lake County Solid Waste District, probably to the tune of at least taxpayer money, about almost $250,000. I remember one time they had an executive session in which they were going to be advised of what was the liability of the taxpayers. And so myself and others went, and we were asked to leave. And I said, well, how could you have an executive session on the issues that we've talked about where we might be liable for the things that may occur? Nonetheless, they spent money on that. And that doesn't include the investment of the time of the staff members to promote this project, in which there's been extensive promotion by the Lake County Solid Waste. The long and short of it, Jed, at least for now, it's been about almost 3 to 4 years. They've said that they're going to try to get the money. They've not had the money. They've not been able to raise it. It's been one thing after the other. I remember going to the meeting, and Jerry Shube and Earl Powers had, or his representative had said how they were going to build it, that they had the finances. This was like a year ago. Earlier this year, they said they had the finances for it. I hope they do get the finances in a private way, not at taxpayers' expense. But for now, I find it seems that the possibilities of it being built are not very good, because if it was, it would have been built already. I really feel for the citizens down in South County, specifically in Snyder, who were promised all of these things, and it never came to fruition. I remember going to the meetings, and they said, we've already entered into contracts with local contractors in the building trades, and so their hopes and things were already have been increased, and were told that they were going to get that, when in fact these people knew that they didn't have the money for it. They've not had the money for it, but they're trying to encourage everybody that they did. So it'll be interesting to see. At least the way it sits now, it doesn't appear that it will be built.
is that there's a lot of frustration out there right now. And
Yeah.
I hear it in callers on a regular basis. I don't know if local leaders are hearing that same kind of frustration. I'm sure they are. But he's kind of bouncing around, but really what he's really just saying is I'm really frustrated. There's no jobs and people are doing this and taxes that, and I can't figure it out. Do you see that?
Yes.
What do you do with that?
Well, it all has a balance in terms of no new taxes, cutting taxes. Those are two separate items. Economic development, jobs, infrastructure, all of those things play an important part. And it's important that we have elected officials who understand that it's about the people. My mom and dad always said, son, it's always about the people when you're in public service. It's always about the people. Them, their wishes and their dreams for themselves and their family. And so I guess back to our original conversation. You can't have, at least for me as I see it, you can't have that focus if you're worried about what other people are calling you names, that you want revenge back, or that you can't forgive. I don't know, last April or so, then candidate John Bunce's last April. Boy, does time fly. Last April. He asked if he could meet, and I said, well, sure. And he wanted to apologize for his frenzy, as he called it, against me and my family. And people said, why did you go to lunch with him? Why did you accept his apology? Because every day we say, I do, my Lord's Prayer, our Lord's Prayer, and we ask for forgiveness. I believe that a strong person can forgive, and that it's good to forgive and accept apologies, and move forward. So when you do that, you don't cloud your sentiments with this anger or desire to get back at somebody. I don't have that.
Okay, I just got to get a timeline here. So when did Buncich call you and want to apologize? Was that this year or the year before?
Last year, when he was a candidate.
When he was a candidate in April of last year. And did he apologize to you?
Yes.
And what did you say to that?
I accepted it, and basically, in essence, said, I guess time will tell if this apology was sincere. He said it was, and so I'll just take him at his word.
Okay, so John Buncich, the sheriff now, apologized to you while he was a candidate in April of 2010. Here it is, August of 2011, and he has made a number of moves and said a number of things that were unflattering to you, including a number of things that he points to that were he considers problems during your administration. How do you take that?
Do you mean is the frenzy back? It appears to be. I don't take it any one way or the other. I do believe that people want to see what you do, not by trying to promote yourself by attacking others. And I really believe that, and I see that, and I see that all the time. And so, does it appear that the frenzy is back? That's for him to deal with, not for me.
I mean, there's a number of issues that have been brought out about when you were the sheriff. I don't know that much about it. The word commissary fund comes up, and there's been 6 guys that have been in a federal investigation about some sort of guns that is kind of complicated to follow also. But I guess the number one thing that Sheriff Buncich has been pointing to, at least on these airwaves, is the condition of the jail when you left as sheriff, and he's been pretty vocal about that. How do you answer that?
I guess I answer that by the fact that I always came on the program here and talked to the people, and we talked about it on many different occasions. The lawsuit is not against Roy Dominguez. The lawsuit was the government versus the Lake County government. I didn't run the jail by myself. There was probably responsibilities for everybody, whether it's financing or approving contracts and all these other things. The investigation done by the federal government was something that I had initiated when we had the problems in the jail when the one inmate was beaten up, and we had kind of a code silence in the jail. You might recall that. And I asked the FBI to come in and asked our U.S. attorney if they would help us because we needed some assistance. Because they have a lot more tools than we did, and then from there started others, and the suicides and things of that nature, and so all that was a part of it, and so during this whole process, when they did the investigation, we had the National Correction Institute do an evaluation of our jail. They do that annually along with the state, and we passed both of them. When the federal government came in with their analysis, we didn't agree with them. And we told them we didn't agree with them. Because how could it have been in those conditions that they described, when in fact we just passed 2 inspections, both the national and the state. And those are not easy inspections. They're very detailed. But we thought it'd be better to work with them and let's see how we can improve the condition of the jail, make others realize that we have to have more investment in the jail. The jail facility, by its design, many would argue that it does more observation than it does supervision, and that's a flawed way of bringing in new jails. Also, the staff, we were understaffed right from the beginning, and a number of different things, but we thought that it would be better to work with them. And if you might recall, the agreement we made with the Department of Justice was historic. It was historic because we worked with them to improve the conditions of the jail. And we did a number of things to help improve it. One of them was to bring a jail administrator position within the jail so that we had somebody who was a professional in jail administration. And a number of different things that we thought that would be helpful. The Department of Justice and through the Correction Institute provided with a lot of assistance, and we did that. And so many of the times I hear a lot of the political rhetoric, and it comes with the territory to the extent that you leave office, new office holder says, oh, they did all this bad and they didn't do this. I've not responded to that and don't intend to, other than to say that happens. And I'm more focused on what we can do about tomorrow. And the issues of the jail is something that must be continued to be looked at. This jail agreement is not an agreement in which it's going to cost, or that it should always say what should cost the taxpayers money. It should be looked at in how we can save the taxpayers money and still have a constitutional jail, and we can do that. And one of the ways to reduce the cost of the jail is by keeping the inmate population down. If you might recall, Jed, we started what was instituted a book and release. Our jail population was almost 1,000. By the time I left, it was down to 775 jail inmates. Now I understand it's up to about 950, 900,000. The agreement with the Department of Justice, now this is very important. The agreement with the Department of Justice says if you want a facility that has 1,000 inmates, then this is the staffing levels and these are the things that you're going to need. But if you reduce it back to 700 thereabouts, and we were able to do that and had no incidences and still provide safety to our community, then your staffing levels and the money that you're invested based upon the type of facility you have, the number of jail correctional officers you have, is okay. It's that when you increase the jail population that then you incur more cost. So you wouldn't need the additional correctional officers if you stayed at a lower jail population. And I think they had said somewhere between 650 to 700. The key to this is not only correctional officers, but also support services are also going to increase with the increase of the jail population, and our book and release be able to do that. The book and release, the short of it is that if they were nonviolent, we would simply book them and release them, because every inmate that comes in the jail requires all the services if they're there admitted. Period. Whether it's a medical evaluation, psychological evaluation, medical care, and all these other things.
You know, we're going deep into that issue, right. And it is a deep issue because the federal government's involved, and there is political rhetoric going back and forth on that, and we'll have to go deeper into it at another time.